好，
大家好。
Chinese Class 101.
Hey everybody, welcome to Gingo Chinese. I'm Amber.
大家好，我是 Victor.
And today we have lesson 16.
Fitting in and making friends, several surefire phrases to help your social life.
Everyone needs this, Victor.
Very helpful, so listen carefully.
Okay, so on that note, let the drinking begin.
Ah, yes. So welcome to the business meeting.
Well, it should loosen the lips a little, so to say. Maybe make the Chinese flow a little easier.
Get your true self out.
That's right. So I say we allow a little more time to let the Baijiu start doing its job and take a couple minutes to review the last lesson.
Sure. One interesting cultural word we learned was 辛苦.
Ah, yes. The you're killing yourself working hard, but in a good way word.
Yeah, 辛苦你, Amber.
Thanks, Victor. Yes. And we also learned the all-important word in China, which is the word to call the waiter or waitress over.
You have to say it like this.
Yell it.
服务员.
服务员. Very important. If you do not know this word, you might not get food.
Exactly. We also learned your favorite particle, Amber.
That's right. So favorite that I even use it in my English sentences now. The particle to imply a suggestion.
Ba. Yeah.
Stereo.
Yeah, so just add it onto the end of your sentence to sound a little softer, less bossy, really.
Yes. For example, when you and I go to a Chinese restaurant together, Victor, I always say, hey, you order. Why don't you order? 你点吧.
Right.
Because after all, the Chinese person is the most qualified to order.
Well, speaking of ordering, we learned also how to order things.
Yes.
Using the phrase 来一份.
And then the dish name. Fun being the measure word for an order of something.
Yeah. Okay, well, so the food has arrived.
Yes, and Mike seems to be turning into a bit of a party sideshow.
Oh.
So we'll listen in, but first we'll tell you you'll learn how to socialize around a Chinese business dinner today.
Yeah, this conversation takes place in a restaurant.
And it's between Mike and his colleague. Okay, let's listen to the conversation.
干杯！干杯！
干杯！
我们吃吧。麦克，尝尝这个，
好的，这是什么？
凤爪，
味道怎么样？
好吃。
再尝尝这个，
这个还好。
哈哈，他不喜欢这个。
麦克，你明天有空吗？
有。
明天我们要去杭州，你和我们一起去吧。
好啊。
明天上午11点，我们在火车站见。这是我的电话号码。
好的，明天见。
重复一次，慢速。
One more time, a little slower.
干杯！干杯！
干杯！
我们吃吧。麦克，尝尝这个。
好的，这是什么？
这是凤爪，
味道怎么样？
好吃。
再尝尝这个。
这个还好。
哈哈，他不喜欢这个。
麦克，你明天有空吗？
有。
明天我们要去杭州，你和我们一起去吧。
好啊。
明天上午11点，我们在火车站见。这是我的电话号码。
好的，明天见。
重复一次，加英文翻译。
One more time with the English.
干杯！
Cheers.
干杯！
Cheers.
干杯！
Cheers.
我们吃吧。
Let's eat.
麦克，尝尝这个。
Mike, taste this.
好的，这是什么？
Sure, what is it?
凤爪，
Chicken feet.
味道怎么样？
How does it taste?
好吃。
Delicious.
再尝尝这个。
Now try this.
这个还好。
This, it's okay.
哈哈，他不喜欢这个。
Haha, he doesn't like it.
麦克，你明天有空吗？
Mike, do you have free time tomorrow?
有。
Yes.
明天我们要去杭州， 你和我们一起去吧。
Tomorrow we are going to Hangzhou. Come with us.
好啊，
All right.
明天上午11点，我们在火车站见。这是我的电话号码。
We'll meet at 11 tomorrow at the train station. This is my phone number.
好的，明天见。
Okay. See you tomorrow. Well, it seems, Victor, there is no better foundation for a budding friendship than a booze-filled evening of debauchery.
It's almost like a Chinese way to, break the ice in a way.
Yes, I think so. It's true. And we heard a toast in this dialogue. So there's something customary about Chinese toast. You'll hear the ganbei.
Right.
You have to clink the glass, right?
Yeah.
And then
Down
down
the whole thing.
Down the hatch.
A small glass, though.
Yeah,
They're
that's the
small
tradition.
glass. Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of the toast, that's the first word in our vocabulary. So let's take a look at the vocabulary for this lesson.
And now, the vocab section.
干杯
Cheers, a toast.
干杯干杯尝
To taste.
尝尝好的
Okay.
好的好的味道
Flavor, taste.
味道味道还好
Passable, so-so.
还好还好喜欢
To like.
喜欢喜欢空
Free time.
空空杭州
Hangzhou.
杭州杭州一起
Together.
一起一起好啊
Sure, okay.
好啊好啊火车站
Train station.
火车站火车站明天见
See you tomorrow.
明天见明天见
Okay, let's take a closer look at the usage for some of the words and phrases we heard today. Okay, so to start with, cheer me, Victor.
干杯
Exactly.
Are we drinking on the job?
Yes. So ganbei is the famous toast of China. First tone, first tone.
Very important phrase to remember.
Yes, well, I will drink to anyone's ganbei except a baijiu ganbei. Let's clink our water bottles.
I don't believe you made it out of China without a baijiu ganbei or two.
No, I did
yeah?
not. I had maybe 50,000. But yeah, that brings us to the next couple of vocab words we want to bring out, which are about tasting things.
Yeah. First of all, we hear Mike being invited to taste one of the delicious dishes, chicken feet. And the verb for to taste is 尝, second tone, 尝.
Yes, and there is a special Chinese verb phenomenon that we're going to tell you about in a moment when we discuss the grammar that duplicates the verb,
Yeah.
says it twice in a row.
And that's why in the dialogue you don't just hear 尝, but rather 尝尝.
Now, the next flavor word is the word for flavor.
Yep, that is 味道. 味 is fourth tone and 道 is neutral tone, which is taste, flavor.
Yes, so if you want to be a Chinese food connoisseur, you are definitely going to have to know how to talk about the 味道.
Yep.
So these are all opinions on the flavor. And how did someone solicit these opinions? Well, they used a very, very helpful Chinese word,
Right.
used often.
Yes, remember 怎么样? Remember from Mike asking the hotel clerk 天气怎么样?
That meant, well, how is the weather?
Right.
So in this case, if they say 味道怎么样, it means they want to know what he thinks of the taste.
Yeah,
So really, you can say anything and ask 怎么样 to say, how is it?
correct.
So we need some options, right? If people are going to
Right.
be asking our opinions. We might not all think that the flavor is 好吃 necessarily. 好吃meaning delicious.
Right. Well, for example, if you think it tastes good, you can simply say 味道很好.
Flavor, very good.
味道很好.
Well, what if you think it's not too good? What if you think it's bad? What would you say?
You can say 味道不太好.
Ah, the taste is not too good.
Right.
不太好.
Pretty polite way to say it, right?
Or, even as Mike felt, he felt the chicken feet were
好吃.
delicious. Literally means good eat.
Right.
好, third tone, 吃, first tone. 吃
Yeah.
means to eat. Yes, I could learn something from this man, right? I could learn to eat animal feet. But then I think, is it something I want to learn? Okay, moving along.
Okay, so maybe you will probably respond more like Mike did to the next dish he tried.
Yes, which is a good word, sort of like a non-committal word.
Yeah.
还好.
还好.
It's kind of like a polite way to say, it's all right, it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah. 还好. 还 is second tone and 好 is third tone.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of means, yeah, like Amber said, just okay.
Depends on your tone of voice. You can be like, 还好. It's like, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
还好吧.
Right.
Okay, so the cool thing about this dialogue is that as a reward for all of his trying all these strange and wonderful foods and drinks, Mike actually gets invited on a trip.
Oh, nice. So first, Mr. Ma checks in, though, and asks if he has free time.
Yeah, and it's good to learn this word. How do you say to have time or to be free in Chinese?
有空, to have free time.
Right, so yo, we know this verb means to have.
Third tone.
And kong is fourth tone. It means
like empty
free time,
space or
empty space. Yeah.
empty time. Yeah.
Yes. And I love hearing those words because you know it means there's leisure in store, Victor.
有空, yeah. Not too much.
Yeah.
Not too much. Okay, so next we get the details. And one keyword to the puzzle is where they're going to meet. 火车站, train station.
Yes.
火 is a third tone. 车 is first tone. And 站 is fourth tone.
Yeah, and literally this 火 means fire.
Yeah.
And 车 is vehicle. It's like fire vehicle. And then 站 means station. So
Yeah.
the train is known as the fire vehicle. It helps you remember it. All right. So it's very exciting to be going on a fire vehicle, I think. But last but not least, they say goodbye with a
明天见. 明 is second tone. 天 is first tone. And 见 is fourth tone.
right. So we know the word for to see or to meet is 见.
Right.
And then 明天 means tomorrow.
Yep.
So kind of like English.
See you
Kind of
tomorrow.
like see you tomorrow. Just flip it around. You
Right.
put tomorrow, see you.
Yeah, and it works for times as well. Say you were meeting at 3 p.m., you could say 3点见.
Oh, that's good. The possibilities. How about next week? If I'm seeing you next week.
下个星期见.
Oh, see you next week. How about Wednesday?
星期三见.
Whoa,
The
so
list
great.
goes on next year.
明年见.
明年见.
Okay, next year, see you. Okay, great. Now, there's one more thing in the vocabulary that I want to mention, is that we all know the word how means good, and it's a very versatile word in Chinese. It can mean a lot of things and be used in different grammar structures,
Right.
etc. But here, there's two more incarnations of the word how.
Yeah, the 好 really gets around.
Yeah, and in these cases, they are how plus a little particle afterwards.
Yeah, we heard 好的.
And 好的 is just basically similar to a softer form of good, like just kind of like, all right, sure.
Yeah. And we also heard 好啊.
Right, 好啊, which really isn't that much different, right?
Right.
Just sort of like, sure, yeah.
Like a yes answer.
Yeah, so it's kind of nice to learn some casual Chinese. You can fit in with the cool kids.
Yeah, that's right. You'll be the new kid on the block.
That's right.
With cool Chinese
That's
learned
right.
from Amber and
Thanks
Victor.
Okay, so speaking of cool, now we're on to grammar. The coolest thing in the world.
It's grammar time.
And we did promise to tell everyone about an exciting verb phenomena.
And now you have to deliver.
Yes. And that is the reduplication of verbs in Chinese. And it's exciting because it's really just so easy.
Right. Basically, it softens the verb in this case. So in the dialogue, we heard 尝尝.
Right. So notice chang was the verb for to taste, and we heard him say chang second tone and then chang neutral tone. The second verb became neutral tone.
Right.
So that means taste this.
Yeah. Except when we say the verb twice like this, it just sort of softens the tone. You know, it's more like, hey, try this, or hey, have a little taste of this.
Yeah, it's not like shove it in your mouth, right? It's like, hey,
Like,
give
try
it a
this.
try.
Yeah, there's a difference.
Yeah, you have to be gentle with things like chicken feet, right?
Yep, very graceful chicken feet. Huh? And while we're in a 常常 sentence, I think we can review a grammar point we learned earlier, just in a different context now to really burn it into your brains.
Yeah, that's right. The other sentence we have here using chang chang is almost the same. It's just that they want Mike to be the guinea pig for another, this time more anonymous dish.
Right. So because they're telling him to do something again, they use the word 再.
Okay, so let's hear that whole sentence, the other one that uses 尝尝 to taste.
再尝尝这个.
So first, remember, he was to 尝尝这个,
Yep.
taste this. And now this 在, what does it change?
It's kind of like, okay, now try this one.
Right. 在 actually kind of means again, like
Right.
here, do it again,
Do it
all
again.
over again. Try this one now.
Yep. And this 在 appeared before when we learned about say it again, or could you repeat that?
Right. In Chinese, that was,
请再说一遍.
right. Again, say it once. Great review.
Definitely. And now we have our friendly little verb 要 popping up again.
Yes, we're visiting 要 again because there are so many uses for the verb 要. So which one are we getting today, Victor?
明天我们要去杭州.
Okay, yes. So with this 要, we know sometimes it means to want, to be going to. It's all context. So in this case, where we heard the 要combined with the verb for to go,
去
what it
for 同
Yeah.
去.
it means to be going to or to have to do something.
Yep.
So 要去 basically means like we're going to go or we have to go.
Correct. So 明天我们要去杭州.
It means tomorrow we are going to go to Hangzhou. So basically the context tells us the meaning with this 要. You know, it's flexible. It's sometimes a little bit ambiguous, but it can kind of cross over between to want, to need, to have to be going to do something, just depending on the context.
Right. Okay, so last but not least, we have a little Chinese sentence word order for you.
Yes, we all love Chinese sentence word order time.
So today's simple word order is a sentence that includes subject, place, and the verb.
Yes, and we heard it in the sentence.
我们在火车站见.
Right. So in this kind of sentence where you have a location and an action that will happen at that location, we use the subject first, which is us in this case here, 我们, then the location.
Yeah, we know it's a location because we first hear the preposition 在,
Right.
which
so
is at.
at. So in this case, the location is 在火车站, at the train station.
Yep. Then we put the verb, what we are doing at the 火车站, which is 见.
To meet. So let's hear the sentence again.
我们在火车站见.
So unlike English, the location doesn't come at the end. It comes right after the subject.
Correct. And in fact, the subject here can even be omitted.
Yes, if it's known. So easy as that. You could just say 在火车站见.
Right.
Okay, well, I think an exciting day is in store.
Yeah.
Trip to Hangzhou.
Yeah, I want to see what
I've been
happens
to
next.
Hangzhou.
Me too.
It wasn't that exciting, but it was pretty. It rained that day.
Oh, okay.
Well, let's
okay.
hope they don't get rain, and we'll see what happens next time on our
Yeah.
Gingo Chinese. And until then, 再见.
再见. See you next time.
干杯！干杯！
干杯！
我们吃吧。麦克，尝尝这个，
好的，这是什么？
凤爪，
味道怎么样？
好吃。
再尝尝这个。
这个还好。
哈哈，他不喜欢这个。
麦克，你明天有空吗？
有。
明天我们要去杭州，你和我们一起去吧。
好啊。
明天上午11点，我们在火车站见。这是我的电话号码。
好的，明天见。
你好，
大家好。
Chinese Class 101.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Gingo Chinese. This is Amber.
大家好，我是 Victor.
And this is Lesson 17, Lost in Translation, Finding Yourself in Chinese.
Wow, going deep.
Well, in today's lesson, it's true. We do have a little bit of lost in translation, you could say.
Yeah, alone in a strange land, Mike is saved from eternal wandering and doom in a strange land by the good fortune of a cell phone.
Yes, which I would say cell phones have probably rescued many people from wandering and doom in a strange land like China. It's definitely your friend to have with you at all times.
And his nice friends managed to save him too.
Yeah, so remember last time we left off with a little bit of the Baijiu business dinner. So it could be that Mike's a little hungover.
Somebody was under the table.
Yeah,
somewhere.
but we'll recap the events of last night a little bit and do a little review.
Yeah, there were some important key vocabs. For example, the word for train station, 火车站.
Right. And another great word was 怎么样, which basically means how is it? And it's kind of a great word to elicit someone's opinion on subjects such as chicken feet, etc.
Yeah, we also learned that doubling up a verb in Chinese is a common way to soften the tone of a sentence.
Yeah, like remember he said 尝一尝 to have a taste, not just like taste. It's more like have a taste.
Never hurts to do a little 尝一尝.
That's right. You can try all new things. So those were all great new things we learned last week. Today's lesson I think is quite riveting as well because I personally too have been in this situation many times in China.
Oh yeah, me too. So let's hear how Mike gets saved by the cell phone and like so many before him.
Yeah, so in this lesson, you'll learn how to have a conversation on the telephone and give simple directions.
And this conversation takes place on the phone.
And it's between Mike and his colleague, Mr. Ma. So let's listen to the conversation.
喂，你好，
喂，早，我是麦克。
麦克，你现在在哪儿？
我也不知道，
我们看不见你。
我也看不见你们。你们在哪儿？
我们在火车站。
哦，我迷路了。
麦克，你的旁边是什么？
这儿有一个小卖部。
哦，我知道。你等一会儿，我们过去。
谢谢。
不客气。
5 minutes later.
嗨，麦克，我们走吧。
麻烦你们了，不好意思。
重复一次，慢速。
One more time, a little slower.
喂，你好。
喂，早，我是麦克。
麦克，你现在在哪儿？
我也不知道。
我们看不见你。
我也看不见你们。你们在哪儿？
我们在火车站。
我迷路了。
麦克，你的旁边是什么？
这儿有一个小卖部。
哦，我知道。你等一会儿，我们过去。
谢谢。
不客气。嗨，麦克，我们走吧。
麻烦你们了，不好意思。
重复一次，加英文翻译。
One more time with the English.
喂，你好。
Hello.
喂，早，我是麦克。
Hello, good morning. This is Mike.
麦克，你现在在哪儿？
Mike, where are you now?
我也不知道。
I don't really know.
我们看不见你。
We can't see you.
我也看不见你们。你们在哪儿？
I can't see you either. Where are you?
我们在火车站。
We're at the train station.
哦，我迷路了。
I'm lost.
麦克，你的旁边是什么？
Mike, what is around you?
这儿有一个小卖部。
There's a small shop here.
哦，我知道。你等一会儿，我们过去。
Oh, I know. Wait a moment. We'll come over.
谢谢。
Thanks.
不客气。
You're welcome. 5 minutes later.
嗨，麦克，我们走吧。
Hey, Mike, let's go.
麻烦你们了，不好意思。
Sorry to have hassled you guys. Phew, I think, Victor, that was kind of stressful. I mean, I think that talking on the phone in a train station is chaotic enough in your own land, but in another language
Getting lost.
and a strange place,
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy. Well, let's look at what words we're going to need to know so that we don't get lost like Mike did. So let's look at the vocabulary for this lesson.
And now, the vocab section.
哪儿
Where?
哪儿哪儿也
Also, too.
也知道
To know.
知道迷路
Lost.
迷路这儿
Here.
这儿小卖部
Small shop.
小卖部过去
To go over, to cross over.
过去等
To wait.
等一会儿
A while.
一会儿不客气
You're welcome.
不客气
Okay, let's have a closer look at the usage for some of the words and phrases in this lesson.
Yep. Now we're going to teach you the word in Chinese for now.
That's right. I think we touched on it on previous lessons, Victor, but everybody, this is the official unveiling of now, the
Yep.
word.
现在 fourth tone and fourth tone.
Yeah. And where we heard it was when Mr. Ma was trying to find his poor lost friend, and he said,
你现在在哪儿?
right, which is literally you now at where. And something to point out is that the word for now, as we just learned, is 现在. And in this sentence, right after that, we hear another 在. Don't get confused. Yes, there are two 在s in this, but one is part of the word for now, 现在, and the other one is the preposition at. So you now at where, literally.
And ultimately, Mike is lost. 迷路了.
So hopefully you won't need this word, but it's a good word to know just in case you do get lost. What are the tones on that?
迷 is second tone and lu is fourth tone.
Right. And after that, we hear the le particle just at the end. This is a particle that's basically just part of this little phrase. It does have different usages, but for now, just try and memorize this phrase. 我迷路了
Right.
in case you get lost.
Right. But now Mr. Ma is obviously a very smart man because he asks Mike what is around him.
Right. And the word he uses is 旁边, which actually means beside or to the side of. But you get the gist. He's basically saying, look around you. What's around you, Mike?
Well, he said, Mike, 你的旁边是什么?
Right. And what was around him? This is a good word to know in China.
He said, 小卖部.
Right, which is a little shop. And there are so many little shops in China.
Right.
But what kind of a shop is this, Victor? What would we see in a 小卖部? What kind of shop would be categorized as 小卖部? Oh, did we tell the tones on that one?
小 is third tone, 卖 is fourth tone, and 部 is fourth tone.
So what kind of shop is that?
They'll probably have things like, laundry detergents, from that to cookies to snacks.
Like convenience store?
Exactly. It's like a small convenience store for a little residential community usually.
Okay, good. Well, there's lots of little shops in China, and I think it's kind of like a real miracle because obviously Mr. Ma is extremely familiar with this train station because what happens next?
Yeah, because he immediately says, 哦，我知道.
Oh, I know is exactly what that means. It's a great phrase we can use all the time. What was it again, Victor?
哦，我知道.
So, oh is just like R-O in English. 我, of course, is I, and 知道. What tones is that?
知 is first tone and 道 is fourth tone.
Right, so that means to know. Oh, I know.
Yep.
Good. And then another great phrase that we can use all the time, he says...
等一会儿.
That's right, 等 is third tone. It means to wait.
等 is a third tone. E is first tone, but here, because of the tone change rule, it's second tone. 会儿 is fourth tone.
Right.
Of course, a heavy northern accent. And 一会儿 means a while.
Yes. So to wait is 等, and then 一会儿 means a while. Wait a while. 等一会儿.
Yep. And then he tells Mike, 我们过去.
Now, we'll delve into the grammar of this 过去 a little bit more in a second. But just suffice it to know for now that it means to go over or to cross over to where someone is.
Yep. 过 is literally to cross over. 去 is to go. 过 is fourth tone and 去 is fourth tone.
Good. So everything ends happily ever after because as we hear, after 5 minutes, all of them reunite.
Yep. And Mr. Ma suggests, let's go.
Now, this is a really good phrase in Chinese too. People use a lot.
我们走吧. 我 is a third tone. 们 here is a neutral tone. 走 is a third tone. 吧 is neutral tone.
Right. And the key to this little phrase, we know it's a suggestion because we hear that ba at the end, which is our suggestion particle as we learn. Basically, you can even just say 走吧, and it just means let's go.
Right.
Okay, and now, Victor, the time I've been waiting for, my favorite word in Chinese.
Which
I
is?
even use it in English, which is 麻烦.
Oh, yeah.
Right. 麻烦is kind of like troublesome, or when you're being a pain or something is a hassle. You can use this word 很麻烦 to describe it. Yeah. So we hear Mike apologize. He says
不好意思.
which is one of our words for sorry in Chinese.
不 is fourth tone, 好 is third tone, 意 is fourth tone, 思 here is neutral tone.
Right. Because he feels like he's being a bit of a pain, getting lost and all. And then he uses the 麻烦 word. What does he say?
麻烦你们了.
So basically that means literally 麻烦 means to have troubled or troublesome. And then 你们 is you, as in you plural. 了 is just a particle. Basically just like to say to someone, I've really troubled you. I'm sorry. What are some other situations where we hear people use the word 麻烦, Victor? I mean, they use it so much in Chinese. I think like any situation, for example, going to the bank or any kind of hassle, basically, people will complain it's very 麻烦.
Yeah, if you have to ask for a favor from someone and they have to kind of go out of the way a little bit to do it for you. And, but it's kind of necessary. So you just say, well, really 麻烦你们了.
Oh, yeah, that's another way you can do it. It's kind of like a way of asking for a favor. You actually acknowledge that you're 麻烦, and you can just say to them, I need something done. 麻烦你了. Yeah, it's a great word. Okay, so let's look at some grammar. So I'm going to make a scenario, Victor. Picture me.
Okay.
I'm lost in the train station. People are milling about. Time is ticking. I call you in distress.
And I'll come to your rescue.
Yes, you'll come rescue me. So I will tell you, I'm here, but you can't see me. What would you say, Amber, if you wanted to tell me that you couldn't see me?
I would say, Amber, I can't see you. 看不见, 看不见.
Right. What are the tones on that?
看 is fourth tone. 不 is fourth tone, but here it's second tone. 见 is fourth tone.
So 看不见 is actually our first grammar point today.
Yeah, it's a special kind of verb you see pop up from time to time in Chinese.
Yeah, and it's called technical term resultative verb.
We won't go into all of them too detailed here.
Yeah, just there's a simple explanation and that is that resultative verbs are basically just action verbs plus a resultative ending.
Yeah, so the root verb today was 看. It means to look.
Right, because in that scenario just now, Victor is looking for me actively.
But I can't find her, thus the desired result has been unattainable.
Right, and that is why we add the 不, which means not, of course. It's our negator word. And then the word 见, which is used as a resultative ending. Basically, what it means here is to perceive.
Right. So 看不见 means you're looking for but unable to see something.
Right. It's literally kind of like look, not see.
Yeah. So you can use this resultative verb whenever you're trying to see someone or something but are unable to.
Mm-hmm. Now, say I was calling you, and since I'm a foreigner, I'm so easy to spot in the Chinese train station, even though you're half a mile away and you need glasses, but you can still see me, right? So then what would you say in that case? Because you are looking and you are able to see me.
Yeah, in that case, you can turn it around and say 看得见.
Right, so it means I can see you.
Yeah.
I'm able to see you.
看 is fourth tone. 的 here is the neutral tone and 见 is the fourth tone.
Good. To be able to see something.
Yeah. And now another thing we learned today is like the other half of 哪儿.
Right. So remember 哪儿 means where. But today we learned
这儿.
Right. And 这儿 means here.
这儿 is fourth tone.
Right. And one thing as a side point to keep in mind that just like 哪儿, it has an alter ego word.
And yes, meaning there are two ways you can say here. Remember 哪儿 and 哪里 for where. Well, now we have 这儿 and 这里 for here.
Right. So basically you can use either one. It's your choice. Okay, you know, actually, Victor, while I'm thinking while we're at it, maybe there's another word that also rhymes that we should get into.
Yep, the word for there.
Yeah, so far we have where, which is 哪儿. We have here, which is 这儿. And now we have there, which is
那儿. or 那里 is also okay.
So the difference between where and there is a tone only. And what is the difference, Victor? Where is...
Third tone. 哪儿
And there is...
Fourth tone. 那儿
So, 哪儿 哪儿
Yeah, it's kind of like the question and then the answer.
Totally
哪儿
different.
哪儿 So where? There.
Right.
Now that we know 这儿, let's take a look at where it shows up in the dialogue.
Yes, because it shows up in a sentence that uses another grammar point that we've learned about before in lesson 11.
Yes, Mike asked where were the taxis.
Yeah, way back then. And remember, he used the verb yo, which is third tone, which means to have. Actually, he used that verb to talk about existence. That's how you do that in Chinese. So what did Mike say back then?
He said 哪儿有出租车, which was where are there taxis?
Right. And today we're talking about the little shop, the little convenience store.
Well, where Mike was standing, there was a 小卖部.
Right. So he said,
这儿有一个小卖部.
which is literally here to have a small shop. But the yo here, the to have, is more like there is in English. It's to show existence.
Right. And last, we're going to talk about 过去.
Yes, we promised to talk about 过去. So remember, Mr. Ma tells Mike, 我们过去, meaning we'll go over.
So 过去 is a directional word. 过 literally means to cross. It's fourth tone. 去 means to go. And in this case, it is neutral tone.
So, for example, Victor, I'm sitting on this side of the room. You're sitting on that side of the room. If I want to say, I'll go over to where you are over there, I would say, 我过去.
Right. But if I want you to come over here, I will tell you 过来.
Okay, so that's a difference. Come over, we use the verb 来, which means to come. Makes sense, right?
Right. And so like imagine a dog. I want to call my dog to come here, so I would say 过来.
Right, just like English. Come here, come here.
Right. And if I'm holding the dog and want him to go over to you, Amber, I would say 过去.
Which is go over there.
Exactly.
Makes sense. Okay, that's it for today, our Gingo lesson number 17. We hope you all enjoyed it. We're happy that Mike got found.
Yeah.
And we look forward to his adventures in the next lesson and learning more Chinese.
Yeah, I will see you next time.
Yeah, listen one more time to the dialogue and we'll see you next time. 再见.
再见.
喂，你好，
喂，早，我是麦克。
麦克，你现在在哪儿？
我也不知道，
我们看不见你。
我也看不见你们。你们在哪儿？
我们在火车站。
哦，我迷路了。
麦克，你的旁边是什么？
这儿有一个小卖部。
哦，我知道。你等一会儿，我们过去。
谢谢。
不客气。
5 minutes later.
嗨，麦克，我们走吧。
麻烦你们了，不好意思。
你好，
大家好。
Chinese Class 101.
大家好，我是 Victor.
And I'm Amber. Welcome back to Gingo Chinese. This is lesson 18.
Yeah, the beauty of the Orient. Pretty girls and handsome boys.
Right. Of course, what story would be complete without some love interest, Victor?
Yeah, it's a land of love. Yes, so today some guy talk.
Yes. The eating, drinking, and being merry was all fine and dandy, but now we get some juicy stuff.
Yep.
So, Victor, I know you like pretty girls and all,
Yeah.
but before we get into that, we should do a little review of last week's debacle in the train station.
Yes, well, remember back to when the colleagues were all meeting up at the train station, and they couldn't see Mike at the appointed meeting place.
Yeah. So we learned all about 看不见.
Yeah, this kind of verb compound expresses that a person is looking but not able to see Mike.
That's right. Also, we learned the word for there,
那儿
or its alter ego.
那里
Right. And the ever important cry for help, I'm lost.
我迷路了
Right. So fortunately, there was a happy reuniting, a happy ending, which brings us to today's happy occasion, which is girl watching.
Let's see what kind of opportunities open up for Mike.
Right. So in this lesson, you'll learn to talk a little bit about dating,
This conversation takes place in the park.
and it's between our business associates and Mike on an outing. Let's listen to the conversation.
哇，那个女孩真漂亮。
哈哈，麦克，你喜欢漂亮的女孩？
中国的女人都很漂亮。
你有女朋友吗？
没有。
我们帮帮你怎么样？
对，
不用不用。
我有一个很漂亮的同事。
而且你很帅，麦克。
不用不用。
中国的女人一定喜欢你。
重复一次，慢速。
One more time, a little slower.
哇，那个女孩真漂亮。
哈哈，麦克，你喜欢漂亮的女孩？
中国的女人都很漂亮。
你有女朋友吗？
没有。
我们帮帮你怎么样？
对，
不用不用。
我有一个很漂亮的同事。
而且你很帅，麦克。
不用不用。
中国的女人一定喜欢你。
重复一次，加英文翻译。
One more time with the English.
哇，那个女孩真漂亮。
Wow, that girl is really beautiful.
哈哈，麦克，你喜欢漂亮的女孩？
Haha, Mike, you like pretty girls.
中国的女人都很漂亮。
Chinese girls are all very beautiful.
你有女朋友吗？
Do you have a girlfriend?
没有。
No.
我们帮帮你怎么样？
We'll help you. What do you say?
对，
Yes.
不用不用。
No, no.
我有一个很漂亮的同事。
I have a very beautiful coworker.
而且你很帅，麦克。
Plus, you are very handsome, Mike.
不用不用。
No, no.
中国的女人一定喜欢你。
Chinese girls will definitely like you. So, Victor, I think this is pretty common, this dialogue, because Chinese people love to matchmake.
Yes, definitely.
There's not so much of a sort of bar scene, dating scene with people
No.
hooking up. Generally it's through friends or family members.
Right.
Or even professional matchmakers that you'll find the love of your life.
Right. The practice of just going up to a girl or a guy at a strange place and start talking is not very common in China.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if you want to meet someone, you're going to have to listen to this vocabulary and learn it well.
Yep.
Let's take a look at the vocabulary for this lesson.
And now, the vocab section.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. Na.
That.
Na. Na. Ge.
Measure word.
Ge. Ge. 女孩
Girl.
女孩女孩漂亮
Beautiful. Pretty.
漂亮漂亮都
All.
都女朋友
Girlfriend.
女朋友女朋友帮
To help.
帮怎么样
How is it?
怎么样怎么样对
Correct. Right.
对用
To use.
用而且
Furthermore. Plus.
而且帅
Handsome.
帅同事
Coworker.
同事女人
Woman.
女人一定
Definitely. Certainly.
一定
Okay, let's have a closer look at the usage for some of the words and phrases in this lesson.
Okay, well, today we start out with the word appropriately for girl.
Yeah, because Mike sees a girl. But even before we get to the word for girl, he starts out with a wow, which I think we don't really need to translate. Do we, Victor? Kind of like, wow.
Yeah, and girl is 女孩. 女 is third tone. 孩 is second tone. Or some people say 女孩.
Yeah, it just depends on your accent. Some people add the R sound onto the end.
Yeah.
So 女 is the word for female. And actually, interestingly, the 孩 is actually the word for child.
Right.
So it's kind of like maybe how we would say in English, girl or chick, if that's politically correct. Whatever term you prefer, kind of a more casual way of referring to a woman.
Well, also in the dialogue, we hear him say 女人, which maybe is a little more mature sounding.
That's right, because 女人 is woman, which 人 being the word for people, 女 being the word for female. So it's literally female person. But just for equality's sake, Victor, I think at this point, perhaps we should throw in how you say boy and man in Chinese, Victor.
Sure, definitely. Very similar. You just swap out the word for female with the word for male.
Which is?
男.
男.
男 is second tone.
Okay, so for boy, it's?
男孩 or 男孩.
And for man?
It's 男人.
Okay, so back to the story. Now, since China is so obviously swarming with beautiful girls, as we heard.
We hear him point out which girl by saying 那个女孩.
Right. Now, remember we learned 那 in an earlier lesson in the series. It means that. And, of course, the ge is our measure word.
Now, the next vocab word from that sentence, most people may know, from all the compliments they get from Chinese people.
Yes, and a hint here, it's not big nose and it's not fat. Neither of those compliments. It's
漂亮. 漂 is fourth tone, 亮 is neutral tone.
Right, which means beautiful.
But this is for girls only.
Okay, yes, that's true. What about for guys?
Well, okay, we'll give you a preview because it comes up later in the dialogue, but the word to compliment men is 帅.
Right, handsome. Victor, 你很帅.
Amber.
You didn't say I was beautiful.
Okay.
I was trying to elicit a compliment.
Amber 很漂亮. Amber 很漂亮. Okay.
Okay.
And back to the vocab.
Yes, back to the vocab. So,
back to the pretty. Also know that she is 真漂亮, not just 很漂亮.
Right. So we know 很 means very, but here this 真 is actually the word for really pretty.
Really pretty.
真 is first tone.
Correct. And we'll revisit the sentence in a moment, not because we love to dwell on pretty girls, but because there is an important grammar point.
Right. So all of this pretty girl talk also leads us to the word, naturally, for girlfriend.
Which is 女朋友. 女, third tone, 朋, second tone, and 友, neutral tone.
So if we break this down, inside we hear again the 女, the word for female, and 朋友 is actually the word for friend.
Right. 朋友.
Right. So Victor, I'm going to grill you like they grilled Mike. 你有女朋友吗?
还没有.
So I asked Victor, do you have a girlfriend? He said he still doesn't.
Yeah.
So we are taking applications. Okay. All right.
But wait, Amber, 你有男朋友吗?
No. Okay. Back to the lesson. We're getting sidetracked. Okay.
Very tactfully avoided my question.
Right. 听不懂. I don't understand. Okay.
That always works in China.
Yes.
听
It's
不
a
懂.
good excuse. Okay. So lots of us seem to be getting embarrassed about these questions. And so naturally, as we heard in the dialogue, Mike does kind of too. So we hear him say another great phrase. What does he say when they ask him, does he need a girlfriend? Does he want a girlfriend?
Yeah, he says 不用, 不用.
Which means no need. But come on, every guy needs a girlfriend.
Seems to be content at the moment.
I think he's lying. He's shy. Okay, well, if you don't have a girlfriend, Chinese people generally think you do need one.
Right.
So you can protest all you want, but it sounds like Mr. Ma in the dialogue has a willing candidate, or he feels that his beautiful coworker would be into it.
Yeah, he says 我有一个很漂亮的同事.
And the word for coworker is?
同事. Second tone and fourth tone.
The good old setup. Okay, and this is probably going to go over quite well because we hear next that Mike apparently is some kind of Brad Pitt.
Yes, the good thing about all foreigners looking alike is that apparently you will all look like Brad Pitt.
It's true. They're very complimentary of foreigners' looks, and sometimes you're like, what? I don't think that guy's that good looking.
Or you look like Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, does that mean I look like Angelina Jolie to Chinese people? Oh, right.
Well, I can use our next vocab word to answer Amber.
Okay. Is that good or bad?
一定, 一定.
Oh, 一定 means certainly. It means I certainly do look like Angelina Jolie is what you're trying to say. Okay. What are the tones on that?
E is first tone, but because of the tone change rule here, it is a second tone. And ding is a fourth tone.
Good. So 一定 means definitely or certainly. Okay, well, on that note, for our first grammar point, we are going to talk more about pretty girls, but mostly about modifying noun. It's like modifying nouns cloaked in pretty girls to make it easier to swallow. Okay, so there's a couple phrases we can pick out from this dialogue where we see a noun being modified.
Yes, the first one is 漂亮的女孩.
Okay, so the noun here is 女孩, which is girl.
Yeah. And we want to say pretty girl. The word for pretty we know is 漂亮.
Right, so to modify the noun, we use the particle 的 in Chinese.
So the words that modify the noun come first, then a 的, then the noun.
Right. So Mike doesn't just like girls, he likes pretty girls.
他喜欢漂亮的女孩.
So he just said he likes pretty girls. So 漂亮的女孩 is the noun phrase here. Pretty girls. How about our other example?
It's very similar. Remember, 同事 means co-worker. Well, we heard that Mr. Ma has a 漂亮的同事.
So a pretty coworker in this case. What if I wanted to say a handsome coworker? How would that sound?
You would say 帅的同事.
Remember, 帅 was the word for handsome.
Correct.
And there is something special to note here, and that is that if the adjective you are attaching to your noun is a single syllable, like we have here with 帅, you can actually omit the 的 if you like.
Yep, so I could just say 帅同事.
All right, so here in this dialogue, we actually see a little review, another usage of a grammar pattern that we already learned, which was the reduplication of verbs.
Yes, we heard 我们帮帮你.
Right, 帮 being the verb for to help, first tone.
Very eager colleagues.
Yes, his ever-willing colleagues
Yeah.
offering to help him out.
Always trying to set you up.
That's right, so helpful, the Chinese.
That's what friends do.
So remember, what's the difference again when you double it up like that, Victor, the verb? Does it change the meaning?
It does not change the meaning. However, it does kind of soften the sentence a little bit.
So you could just say 帮你, help you.
That's fine. It means help you. But when you double up the verb, you know, it's kind of like...
Give you a little help you out a little. Give you that little push you need to stop being so shy with the girls. Okay, good. And don't forget that in reduplicated verbs, the second time you say the verb, it changes to neutral tone. So
Correct.
It's not 帮帮你, it's 帮帮你.
帮帮, right?
Kind of like last time, remember we learned have a taste?
It's 尝尝.
Right.
It's not 尝尝, but it's 尝尝.
Second and neutral. Another really common one that gets reduplicated is to have a look.
看看.
Yeah, or even to have a listen.
听听.
Right. All right, next we're going to introduce you to a word that makes a lot of appearances in Chinese grammar. So it's going to be part of your future for sure.
This is the word 都 that we hear in the sentence.
Right. Do is first tone, and it basically means all or both, depending on the context. And you're going to hear it in a lot of Chinese grammar patterns in different ways to come.
Today we see it in the sentence 中国的女人都很漂亮.
Right. So do is an adverb, and it always occurs before the verb, or even in this case, or as in this case, the adjective phrase, which is here 很漂亮. So as we mentioned, they'll be in many Chinese grammar patterns, but today it's actually used as meaning all. So that sentence,
中国的女人都很漂亮.
it means Chinese women are all very beautiful.
And while we're at it, there's another word that is very, very often popping up in Chinese grammar structures, and that is 而且.
Right, which means plus or furthermore. And we heard it in the sentence,
而且你很帅, 麦克.
which means plus you're really handsome, Mike. So basically when you hear 而且, it means, so basically 而且 here means furthermore or plus. And basically, you just place it like we would in English when you're adding a thought to something that came before. It's kind of a good transition word.
Yes, 而且你很帅, 麦克. And today is a nice intro to it because today's 而且 is light on the grammar. You're going to see a lot of grammar structures to come.
Yes, another good word for future grammar reference. Now, one more important point, which is about negating verbs.
Now, we all know and love the negator we learned and use often, 不.
Yeah. And though it can be used probably vast majority of the time, much of the time, there are certain exceptions where we use a different negator word. And that is the one we hear today, which is
没有.
Right. So the first rule, better say the tones.
没 is second tone, 有 is a third tone. 没, second tone.
Right. Okay. So the first rule of how to choose which negator word to use is, in today's dialogue, the verb being negated is yo, which means to have. And if you see the verb yo, it's always negated with may.
Right.
You never say 不yo. You say 没有. Now, there's other situations as well where you'll use may, but for now, let's just learn them one at a time. And today we found out that if you see yo, the verb, you know if you want to make it negative, you use may. You don't use 不.
So if you don't have a girlfriend, you're 没有.
Right. But if you do have a girlfriend, you can say yo.
有.
Okay, that does it for today's Gingo lesson 18. Everybody listen to the dialogue one more time, practice lots, and maybe you too will get a beautiful girlfriend or boyfriend. And we'll see you next time on Gingo Chinese.
再见.
再见.
哇，那个女孩真漂亮。
哈哈，麦克，你喜欢漂亮的女孩？
中国的女人都很漂亮。
你有女朋友吗？
没有。
我们帮帮你怎么样？
对，
不用不用。
我有一个很漂亮的同事。
而且你很帅，麦克。
不用不用。
中国的女人一定喜欢你。
你好，
大家好。
Chinese Class 101.
大家好，我是 Victor.
Hey everybody, this is Amber, and this is Gingo Chinese, lesson 19.
3 places you have to see when in China.
Right, the must-sees of China. So today we're going to hear what a whirlwind tour of Shanghai is like, Victor. What's there to see? What's there to do?
Yeah, Shanghai is a very interesting city to visit.
Yes, and I mean, I think personally I lived there for 3 years. I could tell everyone a few lesser known spots, but we better tell people the must-sees to begin with.
Yeah.
But before we do that, we'll do a little review. Now, likely on our tour of Shanghai, Shanghai is known for its beautiful girls. So we should remind you of the word we learned last lesson for beautiful girl.
漂亮的女孩.
Yeah. And hopefully, for the women's sake, we will also see some handsome men.
帅的男孩.
Right. Handsome boys. Okay. With a different word than bu. We learned the word
没.
And we learned that if you have the verb yo, to have, you cannot say 不有 if you want to make it negative. You have to say
没有.
yes, for don't have or not have. We also learned a couple words, sort of little words that are going to come in handy later. The first one was the word for all,
都.
which is first tone. And then we also learned the word for furthermore or plus.
而且.
Good. So back to today's lesson. We're on a trip. We're having fun. We're going to learn about some tourist sites in Shanghai.
The conversation is between Mike and his colleague, Mr. Ma.
Right. So let's listen in to the conversation.
太谢谢了。
麦克，这个星期你有什么计划？
我也不知道，我有3天时间。第一天我想去外滩。
外滩？太棒了，顺便去博物馆看看吧。
好。
对了，你一定要去玉器市场看看。
远吗？
不远，在那儿你可以买很多礼物。
哦，好啊，请帮我写一下那个地方的名字好吗？
重复一次，慢速。
One more time, a little slower.
太谢谢了。
麦克，这个星期你有什么计划？
我也不知道，我有3天时间。第一天我想去外滩。
外滩？太棒了，顺便去博物馆看看吧。
好。
对了，你一定要去玉器市场看看。
远吗？
不远，在那儿 你可以买很多礼物。
哦，好啊，请帮我写一下那个地方的名字，好吗？
重复一次，加英文翻译。
One more time with the English.
太谢谢了。
Thank you so much.
麦克，这个星期你有什么计划？
Mike, what are your plans this week?
我也不知道，我有3天时间。第一天我想去外滩。
I don't really know. I have 3 days. The first day I would like to go to the Bund.
外滩，太棒了，
The Bund? Awesome.
顺便去博物馆看看吧。
On the way, you should go look around the museum.
好，
Okay.
对了，你一定要去玉器市场看看。
Oh, you definitely need to go have a look at the jade market.
远吗？
Is it far?
不远，在那儿你可以买很多礼物。
No, it's not. You can buy a lot of gifts there.
哦，好啊，请帮我写一下那个地方的名字，好吗？
Oh, all right. Could you write down the name of that place for me? Okay, so we have a few ideas here of things to do. Let's go over the vocab together and see if we can figure out what those things are. Let's look at the vocab for this lesson.
And now, the vocab section.
太
2,
太星期
week,
星期什么
what,
什么计划
plan,
计划也
also, 2,
也不知道
to not know,
不知道天
day,
时间
time,
时间第一
first,
第一想
would like, to want,
想去
to go,
去外滩
the Bund,
外滩棒
awesome,
顺便
on the way while one is at it,
顺便博物馆
museum,
博物馆看看
to take a look,
看一定
definitely, certainly,
一定玉器市场
jade market,
玉器市场远
far,
远在
at,
那儿
there,
那儿可以
can,
可以买
to buy,
买多
many, much,
多礼物
gift,
礼物帮
to help,
帮写
to write,
写 地方
Place.
地方地方名字
Name.
名字名字
Okay, let's take a closer look at the usage for some of these words.
Okay, so we start out with the vocab word for gratitude. Mike wants to thank his colleagues for the great day they had.
Right. And of course, we all know 谢谢 means thank you, but sometimes 谢谢 alone doesn't feel like enough. So we can say something a bit, right. And of course, we all know 谢谢 means thank you, but sometimes 谢谢 alone doesn't feel like enough. So we can say something a bit more.
Yeah, so he comes out with 太谢谢了.
Right. So this is kind of more like thank you so much.
Yeah, capital S-O.
Little
so
phrase for
much.
you.
Now his colleagues are pretty polite and are ready to help Mike even more.
Yeah. So being very hospitable, they ask him what are his plans for this week. So there's two good words to learn here. The first one being this week.
Yes, well, the word for week we already know from the days of the week.
Right. Do you remember we learned 星期 plus the number of the day of the week is the way to express the days of the week.
Yeah. So to say week, you just say 星期 on its own. So of course, we know the word for this is 这个.
Right. So put it all together. This week is
这个星期.
Right.
And then in asking about plans, of course, they say 这个星期你有什么计划?
Right. And the key word here is the word for plan. It is
计划. 计 is fourth tone. 划 is also fourth tone.
right. 计划.
So that being said, what are the 计划 that Mike has going on?
Yeah. What are his plans? Well, sounds like he's got a few good ones already. He's done his research. First off, a place that no one can miss when they go to Shanghai, which is
外滩. 外 fourth tone, 滩 first tone.
Yeah, I remember being totally mystified when I got to Shanghai and kept hearing this 外滩. What is that? It's because the word in Chinese is so different from English, but in English it's actually the bund. 外滩.
Well, in Chinese, it kind of means the outer beach or outer harbor.
Well, interestingly, because in English, the term the bund, it's actually from an Anglo-Indian term, Victor. And do you know what it means?
No, I didn't.
Muddy embankment.
Muddy
But it's because at the
embankment?
beginning of the 19th century, Shanghai was still a small seaside town
Right.
on the shore of the river.
Right.
And so at that time, the Bund area was just like a shallow waterfront that had tons of reeds and
Right,
stuff.
exactly. Not anymore, though.
Yes, much different. So now if you go to the Bund, maybe some of you know, it's the riverfront area of Shanghai that they built many, many beautiful European style buildings, built by the foreigners that were in Shanghai at the time.
Yeah. It's really a famous landmark, not just in Shanghai, I think all over China as well.
Yeah, it's like a museum of international architecture.
Okay, now the cool thing is, on the way to the Bund, we get to learn the word for on the way in Chinese.
That's right, because remember, Mr. Ma suggests that on the way to the Bund, Mike should hit the museum while he's at it.
Yep. And the word for on the way or while you're at it is 顺便. 顺 is fourth tone, 便 is also fourth tone.
Right. So, for example, if I were coming to work, maybe, Victor, you want to ask me to pick something up on the way.
Right.
You could use this word.
Correct.
So maybe you asked me to buy you a coffee to give you the energy to record. So what would you say then?
顺便帮我买一杯咖啡.
Oh, on the way, help me to buy a cup of coffee.
Right.
Very good word. 顺便.
Yes, very useful. Now, what is he supposed to do again on the way to the Waitan?
He's to go to the museum, which is
博物馆. 博, second tone. 物, fourth tone. And 馆 is a third tone.
right, which is located actually in the People's Park in Shanghai. What other things should Mike see, Victor?
Well, if he wants to buy some souvenirs, he should definitely go to the old city, the 玉器市场.
Right, which is the jade market. So we hear there the word for market at the end. What was it?
市场. It's fourth tone and third tone.
And then the first part is the word for jade.
玉器, fourth tone and fourth tone.
Good. So in English, the jade market. And what do you do there, Victor? Have you been?
No, I have not.
Well, I can tell you because I've been. You can
Yeah.
buy lots of things.
Yeah, there are a lot of those kind of markets all over China. I feel like.
Souvenirs and things like that. So in Chinese, the verb for to buy is going to be an important one. What was it again?
买, third tone. 买.
Right. And if you're really nice, you will be buying what for other people?
You will 买礼物.
Which means to buy gifts.
Correct.
The word for gifts being
礼物, third tone and fourth tone.
Right. And you come to the right place if you go to that market.
And there's a real authentic Chinese garden there as well, which is cool to experience.
Yes, that's something else you can see there.
And the last vocab word is about distance.
Yes, which is very important in big Chinese cities. You got to make sure your tourist sites are maybe in the same vicinity.
Yeah, and the word for far is yuan. Third tone, yuan.
Yes. This is a perfect example of how easy Chinese is. To say, is it far, like Mike did in the dialogue, all you have to do is add our ma, the verbal question mark after the word.
Right. So Mike asks, 远吗?
So is it far? Simple as that. And the answer, fortunately, is
不远, or not far.
right. So we use our negator word bu with the word for far, not far. So while we're on the subject, Victor, just so we know, if the word for far is yuan, what is the word for near?
近. Fourth tone, 近.
Okay, good. So if we were saying, is it near? Could we just say 近吗?
Exactly.
Good.
It's grammar time.
So we talked about all these must-see places, but they're so must-see that there is even a grammar pattern used to urge Mike on.
Yes, his friends really think he has to see certain things. So they use a vocab word that we learned actually in the last lesson. It's the word for definitely or certainly.
一定.
Right. Now, the pattern we learned here in this dialogue is how to tell someone you must do something.
Yes, and the pattern goes like 一定要 plus the verb.
Right. So here they said, you have to go to the jade market. How did they say that?
你一定要去.
You have to go.
So let's try with another verb.
Okay, let's just say you're at the jade market. So I'm going to tell you, Victor, you have to buy a gift.
Right. You say 你一定要买礼物.
Right. You have to buy a gift. Okay. Now next we're going to talk about something not as fun as gifts, but still important. And that is ordinal numbers. Now here's the thing. If maybe some people don't know what ordinal numbers are, like I didn't, but I will tell you because I learned myself in order to teach it. What they are is a number indicating position in a series or order. So basically it's just like when you say first, second, third, and so on.
So in our dialogue, we heard Mike say he had 3 days in Shanghai. Then he talked about what he was going to do on the first day. He said, 第一天.
Okay, so let's look at that for a minute. What are the tones?
第 is first tone, 一 is first tone, and 天 is also first tone.
Right, so 一 we know is the number for 1. 天 means day. 第一天, well, the D makes it into the ordinal number. It's the first day.
Correct.
So what did he say again he was wanted to do on the first day?
第一天我想去外滩.
Right, so to express an ordinal number like first, second, third, all you do is add the word D in front of the number.
Yep. So the second day would be 第二天.
Mm-hmm. And the third day?
Would be 第三天.
Very easy. Okay, so now we know Mike is telling it. Okay, so we did hear Mike telling us what he would like to do on the first day. And we hear him use the verb for would like or when you desire or want to do something.
Yep, that is 想. Third tone, 想.
Yeah, so 想 is similar in meaning to 要, which we've learned before, the verb to want. But it's a little bit softer, kind of expresses a desire to do something.
要, fourth tone, which we learned before, is more to the side of to want or to need.
Right.
Okay, so now all these tourist sites are going to be so awesome that we have to teach you the word for awesome in Chinese.
Yes, one of my personal favorites. And not only are we going to teach you the word for awesome, but actually it's kind of more like the word for totally awesome, Victor.
Yeah, so the first word for awesome is 棒, fourth tone.
Yeah, and something to add is that you can even say something is 很棒. Just like we know we learned 很好means very good. If you want to up the notch of the 棒, of the awesomeness, you can say 很棒.
Yeah. But you can also take it up even further by using today's grammar pattern used for emphasis.
So to add even more emphasis, we use the word
太, which is fourth tone.
Fourth tone. And it actually kind of means to, like T-O-O.
Yeah.
And then there's a little ending we put
太棒了.
This is our pattern for emphasis. So basically what you're doing is you're sandwiching an adjective, in this case, awesome, 棒, between the tai and the le. And what you get is even more awesome.
太棒了.
Right. So you can also use it with other adjectives like 好. You could say 太好了.
Right.
It means really good, great.
Yeah, and the pattern can be used to emphasize something that is not so good either. Just use a more negative adjective.
Right. Like, for example, sometimes you hear people say like 太差了, right?
Yeah, 太差了. Which 差kind of means like substandard or lacking. And so it has the feeling of so terrible or so lame.
Kind of like lame. 太差了. Cha is fourth tone.
Okay, and now, last but not least, we have a sentence that reviews some things we learned before.
Yeah, it's something we learned way back when in our boot camp series, boot camp number 3.
In that lesson, we learned how to ask someone to write something down by saying, 请帮我写一下, 好吗?
Yeah, and this phrase, if you learn any phrase by memory, I think this one's very, very useful one to do because it will help you get around the city. You can always ask people that speak English and Chinese or hotel clerks to help you write down the places you want to go to. Don't forget that's the best tactic to use with a taxi. Bring a piece of paper. So this time the place he got them to write down was a tourist destination.
So to be a little more specific, you can say to someone, 请帮我写一下那个地方的名字, 好吗?
Right. So it's a long sentence, but we know all the words here almost. Maybe there's just one new word, and that is the word for place.
地方. 地, fourth tone. 方 here is the neutral tone.
Right. And he says 那个地方, which is that place.
So the rest, if we break it down, is 请帮我写一下.
Which is straight from our boot camp sentence. Please help me write down.
Then 那个地方的名字.
That place's name, basically.
And then he adds on a little 好吗 at the end.
Right, which sort of expresses okay or do you mind? Could you? Okay, lots of good stuff in our lesson today. Lots of good places for you all to check out in Shanghai when you go. And also lots of good phrases you can use to find where you want to go. So have another listen to the dialogue and we will say goodbye for now and we'll see you next time on Gango Chinese.
再见.
再见.
太谢谢了，
麦克，这个星期你有什么计划？
我也不知道，我有3天时间。第一天我想去外滩。
外滩？太棒了，顺便去博物馆看看吧。
好。
对了，你一定要去玉器市场看看。
远吗？
不远，在那儿你可以买很多礼物。
哦，好啊，请帮我写一下那个地方的名字好吗？
你好，
大家好。
Chinese Class 101.
大家好，我是 Victor.
Hey, and I'm Amber. Welcome back to Gango Chinese. This is lesson 20.
You better ask before you do this in China.
So what's this going to be all about? Well, today our traveler has decided to get himself a little cultured.
Yep, so Mike took the advice and is checking out the museum in Shanghai.
Yes, which is something I am ashamed to say, Victor, that I never did during my entire time living there.
That's too bad.
Terrible. But before he does that, we'll just do a little review of a couple of things we learned in the last lesson.
Right.
Now, we know that he ended up going to the museum because he was on the way to the Bund. He was going to go on the way. And what was the word again for on the way, to do something on the way?
顺便,顺便.
Which is?
Fourth tone and fourth tone.
And we also learned about ordinal numbers, how to say, for example, first, second, third. Remember, Mike was saying on the first day he was going to do this. How do you say that?
You will put the word 第 in front of the number you're trying to say. So the first day would be 第一天.
Right, which is the first day. And one other cool thing we learned was how to say the word for totally cool, totally awesome. What was that, Victor?
棒.
Right.
很棒.
And we learned a way to emphasize an adjective is by putting it in a little sentence pattern package, which was
太棒了.
Right, which means totally awesome. Good. Okay, so today we're going to hear, since all of us missed the museum in Shanghai, we're going to hear about it today for the first time. So in this lesson, you're going to learn how to ask about opening times, also how to ask permission to do something.
This conversation takes place in a museum.
Right, it's between the museum employees and Mike. Let's listen to the conversation.
请问博物馆几点开门？
上午10点，
现在几点了
9点50。
好吧，我在这儿等。
10 minutes later.
先生，您要几张票
一张
？20块钱。
给你。不好意思，我可以在这里拍照吗？
对不起，这里不可以拍照。
重复一次，慢速。
One more time, a little slower.
请问博物馆几点开门？
上午10点，
现在几点了？
9点50。
好吧，我在这儿等。
先生，您要几张票
一张
？20块钱。
给你。不好意思，我可以在这里拍照吗？
对不起，这里不可以拍照。
重复一次，加英文翻译。
One more time with the English.
请问博物馆几点开门？
Excuse me, what time does the museum open?
上午10点，
10 a.m.
现在几点了？
What time is it now?
9点50。
9:50.
好吧，我在这儿等。
All right, I'll wait here. 10 minutes later.
先生，您要几张票？
Sir, how many tickets do you want?
一张
One ticket.
20块钱。
20 renminbi.
给你。
Here you are.
不好意思，我可以在这里拍照吗？
Excuse me, can I take a photo here?
对不起，这里不可以拍照。
Sorry, you can't take photos here. Well, Victor, it sounds like they run a tight ship at the Shanghai Museum.
A little strict.
You know, they have all those jade bok choy cabbages to protect and stuff. I don't blame them. Okay, well, before we get to the museum, we're going to need to know some important words before we can even enter, apparently. So let's take a look at the vocabulary for this lesson.
And now, the vocab section.
请问，
May I ask?
请问，请问，博物馆，
Museum.
博物馆，博物馆，现在，
Now.
现在，现在，几，
How many under 10? A few.
几，几，几点，
What time?
几点，几点，好吧，
All right.
好吧，好吧，这儿，
Here.
这儿，这儿，等，
To wait.
等，等，分，
Minute.
分，分，后，
After.
后，后，张，
Measure word.
张，张，不好意思，
Sorry.
不好意思，不好意思，可以，
May. Can.
可以，可以，拍照，
To take a photograph.
拍照，拍照，对不起，
Sorry.
对不起，对不起，这里，
Here.
这里，这里。
Okay, let's have a closer look at some of these words and phrases in this lesson.
We start out with Mike arriving at the museum bright and early.
Yeah, and he finds the doors closed. So, of course, he wants to know if he has time to grab a youtiao for breakfast, right? So he asks.
几点开门?
Right. Now, today's lesson will be all about time. We're going to learn a lot of time words and phrases in a moment. But let's just first start with 几点 and learn that is how we ask what time is it.
几 third tone 点 third tone.
Right. And when you put it together with the tone change rule, it's pronounced
几点
second tone, third tone.
Yeah, it means what time.
Right. And so next we hear the word for to open.
开门 开first tone and 门 second tone.
Right. And this literally means to open is 开门is literally means the door. So basically it's what time does the door open?
Right. So 几点开门
Right. And just as a side point, you can use this to ask almost anywhere, even if it's a store or an office. What time do you open? You say
几点开门
Okay, so next we hear the staff tell Mike, looks like he has to wait. And he uses my favorite little particle, which is
吧
right. Now, before we learned this ba, does everyone remember? It was a suggestion particle. But this little ba can be used for so much more too.
Yes, in this case, it is a little bit of a reluctant particle.
Yeah, it's expressing a feeling, a little bit of disappointment. What does Mike say again?
好吧
Right.
Kind of like, oh, I see.
Right.
Okay.
When he knows he has to wait, he's like, 好吧.
好吧 Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and it seems like it's a day of disappointments because later we'll hear another disappointment from Mike.
Right. Well, before we know what that was, we have to learn what it was he was trying to do.
Ah, yes, he wanted to 拍照.
Right.
拍 is first tone and 照 is fourth tone.
Right, which means to take a picture.
Yeah, such a useful vocab word for tourists.
Yes. So Mike wants to take a photo in the museum. He's not allowed. So he could take the opportunity and take photos of other things, right? So he could use this phrase at another time.
Yeah, so you could use this phrase, for example, to ask permission to take a photo anywhere.
Yeah. You could just say,
我可以拍照吗?
right, can I take a picture? Simple as that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we promised you time, and we are going to give you time in today's grammar.
It's grammar time.
Yeah, so we first heard about time when the plane was landing in Shanghai.
Yeah, remember it was a nice even 3 o'clock?
3点,
Right. We also can say 3点钟.
right? Then we heard a lot of times and times of the day in Mike's itinerary.
Yeah, remember his business meeting day?
If you're feeling rusty, you can go back and review that lesson. It is lesson number 14 in the series.
Yeah. But it seems apparently Mike has been lucky so far in his life in China because everything seems to land on the hour every hour. But sooner or later, he was going to run into a 10 to 10 or like, heaven forbid, a 2:15.
Oh, no. The more tricky times.
Right. So let's start with the basics, Victor. First of all, let's just review. How do you ask for the time?
Well, we know the word for o'clock, which is 点. So you can simply say 几点, or the longer version is 几点钟.
Right. So if you wanted to ask a passerby, what time is it? What would you say?
You could say 请问现在几点钟?
Which means, may I ask, excuse me, now what time is it?
Exactly.
Now, if we wanted to know what time something is happening, then what would we say?
Just like in a dialogue, 博物馆几点开门?
Right. So that's museum, what time, and the thing it's doing is opening the doors.
Yep. Or say, I want to ask what time you will come. I will say, Amber, 你几点来?
Ah, which is you, what time come. So this word 几, what does it mean exactly, Victor?
It's actually the word for how many.
And did anyone notice that it comes a couple lines later in the dialogue as well when the clerk asks how many tickets he wants?
That's right. It's pretty quick, Amber.
Yes.
您要几张票?
Right. So you want how many tickets? And this is also familiar from the bus ticket buying episode. Remember, Victor?
Yep.
The clerk there was just as direct. You know, in China, the clerks don't mess around. They just generally say, what do you want?
All right.
It's very efficient.
Let me help you, and that's it.
Okay, so back to the times. Let's take a few little oddball times and see how we would put them together in Chinese. What do you say?
Sure. Okay, throw me some, Amber. How about what time is it now?
Okay, right now it is exactly 12:23. Let's hear it.
Okay. You say 12点23.
Okay, so there's a lot of numbers in here, but there's very specific points that will tell us it's about time. So basically what you're doing is just saying the hourly time, then the minutes. So we heard 12点, that is 12 o'clock. Remember, 点 means o'clock. Then following that, we just say the minutes, which was 23. So it was
12:23.
right. Now, do we have to, what's the word for minutes, Victor? We said 点, which means o'clock. Do we have to say the word for minutes?
You can. It is 分. However, you can also be omitted.
So you could say 12:23分.
Correct.
But you don't have to.
Yeah, it's just more common to say 12:23.
Okay. Now, what if you want to get a little crazy and start saying stuff like 2:15? How would you say that, Victor?
There's a special phrase for that, and it's just this. 2点1刻.
Okay, so first off, this time you said 2 instead of 2 for 2. Is that normal?
Yeah, remember back to the bootcamp lesson on numbers. The 2 is odd in that there are 2 ways you can say it.
Right. Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 2. And if you want to get that straight in your head about the rules of when, go back to the bootcamp lesson and you will learn that again. But meanwhile, the word for quarter after is
1刻.
Which means literally 1 quarter.
1 quarter.
Good. What if it was 5:30?
We have a word for half past as well. It's the word for half in Chinese, 半.
Okay, so let me guess. 5:30 would be 5点半.
Correct.
So 5 o'clock, half.
Yeah, so 半, half is the fourth tone.
All right. So what if it was something like 12:05 then?
That's a little different, but still easy. You can just say 12:05.
So if there's a 0 in there, you need to say it.
Correct.
Kind of like we do in English, 12:05.
So back to our dialogue, same thing. It was 9:50.
Right. And that in Chinese is?
9:50.
Yeah. So basically, if you know your numbers, if you get the numbers down, you can do time in Chinese. It's not too hard. Oh, there's one more thing I just thought of. What about noon?
中午.
Midnight?
半夜.
So that's literally like half night.
Okay, so one more grammar point to bring out briefly.
It's about asking permission.
So let's look at the sentence in the dialogue.
It's when he's asking if he can take a photo.
He says, 我可以在这里拍照吗?
Right. So the key verb here is 可以, which we've learned about before. It means can.
Right. So you can use this structure to ask permission. This one has a location within it. 在这里. But to simplify even more, you could just say 我可以拍照吗? As we mentioned earlier.
Right. So could you also say 这儿 in this case, Victor? We know there's 2 words for here, right?
Right.
Either way.
Either way.
Okay. So if I wanted to ask permission to do something else, can you tell me how we would say it in Chinese? I'll ask you and then you tell us the Chinese.
Of course.
Okay. How about, can I smoke here?
Amber, do you smoke?
No.
Yeah.
But a lot of people in China do. So you might need to ask, and you're allowed to smoke indoors there. So you might you might not need to ask permission, but hey, it could be the nice thing to do.
Exactly.
So if you wanted to say, can I smoke here? What would you say?
Well, for that, you will say 我可以抽烟吗? Or if you want to add the here, 我可以在这里抽烟吗?
Now the word for to smoke is 抽烟.
抽烟.
Both first tone. Okay. And then literally translated, this sentence is, I can here smoke a cigarette, ?
Right. Please note that the location word doesn't ever come at the end like it does in English.
Yeah, look again. Where is it again?
我可以在这里抽烟吗?
I can at here smoke a cigarette.
Right. It never goes at the end of the sentence.
Okay, yeah. All right, all that grammar, I'm ready to go for a smoke. Just kidding. Okay, well, one thing for sure is that cigarettes are a lot cheaper in China. I've heard. I think they're like $2 a pack instead of $10.
Well, a lot of things are cheaper in China.
Yeah, but actually I did smoke a Chinese cigarette once and it was really terrible. Okay, well, smokers or not, we don't know if you are, but we'll leave our listeners at that to go listen. You can have a smoke over the dialogue if you smoke.
Right.
We hope that you don't smoke.
And learn how to ask permissions.
Yeah, and have another listen to the dialogue, and we will see you next time on Gingo Chinese.
Yeah, 再见.
再见.
请问博物馆几点开门？
上午10点。
现在几点了
9点50。
好吧，我在这儿等。
10 minutes later.
先生，您要几张票
1张。
20块钱。
给你。不好意思，我可以在这里拍照吗？
对不起，这里不可以拍照。